We're back. I'm Sunny D.
And I'm Captain J.
And we're the Pot Smoking Moms. Hey, if you like us, please do us a solid, leave a review, subscribe, or, just share this program with your friends. We are available on all social media platforms, typically. And you can find all of those at potsmokingmoms.com.
Yeah. Please go make sure to go check it out and share our stuff. But before we get this show started,
let's
have a smoke sesh.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, I need this.
Yeah. We just came from a
we
patron
just
smoke
came
sesh.
from a sesh, but
we smoked enough to be cool to record a show.
Yeah, because I was also rolling my J for this sesh, so I wasn't smoking the whole time, so I kept it chill. I have some space age cake that I rolled into a little J for myself.
Nice. And you also have my lighter, so that's also very cool.
And they look alike.
I know. Mine's got Santa on it currently. So.
Mine's ours.
We also wore the same shirt.
Eventually, we will have a store with these available. Eventually.
Yeah, one day in the future. Not this guy, though.
No.
But we're also both wearing the same Mary Jane is my homegirl
Total
t-shirt.
Accident, actually. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you get to see us twinning.
Yeah.
If you're listening, go check us out on YouTube.
I wish we had a little icon of Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger to pop up. Boop, doop, doop, doop. I am smoking Skittles.
We should have a little. We should do that.
Yeah. Uh-huh. There you go. Uncle Jesse.
Write a note for that piece of candy.
He is back with us today.
Thank God Jesse's
so we
back.
don't feel like we have to be.
We were lost without you,
80
buddy.
things at the same time.
All right.
It was pretty funny though.
So what'd you have?
I have a Skittles with a Z.
Skittles with the Z.
Yeah.
Cheers.
And
Oh, you're doing a bowl.
Yeah, whatever. Cheers. Boop boop.
Yeah, I was hitting my bog and I almost died earlier doing our sesh. So I was like, okay, I'm not doing the bong. Because every time I do the bong during the show, I'm always coughing up a lung after. Hey, there it is. That movie was great.
Love it. Hey, tell us what you're smoking in the comments. However you watch us.
Yeah.
Let us know.
All right. So what do you got going on in your life? It's been a couple weeks since we recorded.
Well, we other than the same things that we got going on, because usually you and me have to have conversations
for the podcast.
Yeah. Which we'll be talking about later, the Colorado trip. That's gonna be super fun. I don't know, at the time, at the moment, during the week, you're like, oh, this would be good to talk about on the show. And then life keeps lifing and you get to the point where you're at the show and you're like, I forgot what I was going to talk about. But we took the kids to the Renaissance Festival and just there's an episode of Portlandia where people go to birthdays and they need to take out a birthday loan to be able to go eat tapas for somebody's birthday. Very reminiscent now of needing to take out a loan every time you're going to go out, leave the house, do something such as a Renaissance Festival. It really is we love it. We've been going to it forever. We've been nerds for a very long time now. And so since high school, Renaissance Festival is fun. There's certain things you could buy at the Renaissance Festival that you can't really buy other places. But it's like a money suck. It's $36 to get in. That's it. That's the ticket price.
For kids too?
No, for kids, we had to lie and tell one of our kids was underage so that we wouldn't have to pay for her, because it was $16, which is we're going to spend $16 in there, bitches. I don't need to pay an extra $16 if I can get away with it, which you can. If your kid is 6 and is 5 and under, just tell them they're 5. Yeah, fuck it. But
my son was it 2 until he was 5 years old for Disney World?
Yeah.
So
I seen people post some crazy shit in Disney where the little kid is hiding their feet in the stroller, and then
you just
they
cover
walk
their
in,
legs with a blanket,
and a full-grown 18-year-old pops out of the stroller. It's insane. It's pretty wild.
I've seen those.
I've
seen those.
My gosh,
those are funny.
They put mirrors so that the stroller doesn't look as big. No, I'm kidding. I'm joking.
She's exaggerating.
But yeah, man, I felt like everywhere we went in the Renaissance Festival, it was money here, money there. The food, obviously, if you buy any trinkets and shit, The rides the kids had to pay to go into a maze, and like, you want the kids to do stuff.
Mhm.
My kid had to pay to go to a petting zoo. The other one,
Every little things you have to pay.
everything.
So what are you paying for to get in?
Exactly. And then we had this conversation earlier. Uncle Jesse made the point that, yeah, even when you go see the shows, because at the Renaissance Festival, there's lots of really fun shows. At the end of the damn show, they're asking you for tips and stuff. And it's just like, oh,
And they
my
deserve tips.
God.
They did a great
I
job.
mean,
But
they
damn,
did, but what? They don't get
but
paid?
you paid $36 to get in and out for everything you do in there.
Yeah, it's wild. It's wild.
That's a lot.
Yeah, you got to save up for months
Yeah,
before you're able to
that's
go
why
to the
when you guys
Renaissance
invited me, I'm
Festival.
like, I would love to, but
Yeah, and then my kid was kind of sick the night before, and I was like, oh, well, maybe I should just go with this and like not go if she doesn't feel good. And then she felt great in the morning, so I was like, all right,
you gotta go now.
let's go spend that money. Woohoo! It was fun though. It was really fun though. Actually, there was like these little puppets. I know I'm gonna geek out a little bit, but there were the cutest puppets.
Isn't that where you bought your first puppet?
No,
Oh,
that was in
no,
Disney.
Old Town,
That was
yeah.
in Old Town. But they had these little puppets that I swear to you, Jay, they looked like the little animals from the labyrinth, the little little whatever, little creatures from the labyrinth.
Mhm.
So at one point I go, man, these look a lot the like a Jim Henson creature. And then the lady was like, oh well, he worked in the 80s in a lot of movies, so he might have. And these little things were like, you perch them on your shoulder, and then they have like a little wire thing that goes down, and you like maneuver them with the little wire.
Yeah, like the ones they have in Disney for the not Avatar. Yeah, the Avatar, the little
Oh yeah, probably
Yeah.
same idea. It
Mhm.
was really cool. I was like, oh,
those
that
little
was
creatures. I can't remember what they're called. The ones you
Yeah.
ride in the ride.
Yeah, they're like
The ones that
they're
fly.
alebrije or whatever. They're connecting animal, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not all the animals are not the same, right? They're
No.
different.
Yeah.
Where you connect with them or whatever.
Yeah. The ones they fly on. Yeah, that they connect with.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, those weird, puppet shit. I
Nerd
love
shit.
that shit. It's the best. But yeah, other than needing to recuperate funds, I'm selling, flowers on the street corner to make up the money we dropped at the Renaissance Festival. You continuing to plan the Colorado trip? Anything new?
I don't really have much going on other than work and everyday life. And so everything that's been keeping me looking forward is just planning our trip. And like we've already come to the conclusion that Casa Bonita
No,
is
Casa
out.
Bonita. I looked it up on YouTube. I was telling you, and I was like, it was a guy was talking about it, and it looked so tourist trappy. It looked so hokey
It's
and
very
inauthentic.
novelty.
It's very
gotta be-
gaudy and cheesy.
That's the whole point. It's
Yeah.
just like on the show.
Yeah. It's
So
laughably bad.
it's ridiculous. You go there to try to get the website. You try to get the tickets because they have like a lunch service and a dinner service.
And I saw that. I looked at the food in the video, and I was like, "That is not Mexican
It's like cafeteria
food.
Mexican food.
It
or
is.
something.
It's terrible.
So you try to get the tickets
Slopping the
for
cheese
lunch
on
or dinner,
things.
and there's not even an option to book anything for lunch or dinner. You got to submit your email, and then they email you when there's availability.
Ay,
to come.
pero que se lo
There's
meten por el
no-
culo. Forget it. You can no.
If you have a group that's 9 or more, you can try scheduling it. They'll see if they can accommodate, but no. And I was like, wow, that's bananas.
I mean, boo.
So yeah, no, Casa Bonita's not happening. And I've been just looking at different hikes, like options, and trying to pick our hike for the day so that we at least know where we're gonna go for the hike. I've seen so many good ones,
Should
and
we
I've been
hit up a-
sharing them in the chat. Like I found one that's like a top 10 that are close to Denver and good for the springtime. Because you also like there's certain areas that are not good still in April because there's still a lot of snow on the ground and shit. So we got to think of all that shit.
There's still gonna be snow on the ground in April.
If you go towards the mountains, if you go into the mountains,
Yeah, that's right. It's always kind of snowing a little bit up there.
Yeah, it could still snow in April.
Yeah. Well.
So yeah. But everybody got their flights.
I know.
I got everybody's arrival times
It's happening.
mapped out in my little notes so that I can figure out our pickup for the rental. So
Yeah.
just got to buy the rental now. So yeah, just planning out, not like step-by-step details, but just have an idea of what we're going to do. And I don't know what to plan next until we know what we're doing for the meetup. So that's what we gotta discuss.
Keep your ears peeled. We're trying to do a meetup out in Colorado. If you're out in Colorado somewhere and you'd like to meet us up, please hit us up.
We want to do a meetup, just trying to figure out the location.
Right.
Yeah.
We want to be accommodating for those of you who do live out there, and we want to find a cool spot.
Like we don't know, should we do Denver? Should we do Boulder? Should we do I
feel
think
like
Denver would make the most sense. Like most
yeah,
people would be able to go to Denver.
but aren't there a lot more like farms and
But
stuff out in Boulder?
but Boulder has that one place. It's like a farm that you can also be outside, and I think you can smoke. And we'll see. We're trying to figure it out. So stay tuned. We will share. If you know of a place, if you're out in Colorado and you're listening right now, dude, tell us. Like we're open to
Call
suggestions.
us, text us,
DM us.
do something.
Oh, so I think, we're ready to move on, right? Before we move on, we want to give a special thank you to our patrons.
Woo,
These
woo.
shows are brought to you by them, basically. They help us keep this show going, and not only financially, but also by motivation, inspiring us every day. We have a great time in our Discord chat. You do get extra things like the patron
exclusive
sesh.
live streams.
Exclusive,
I think, right? That's what it's exclusive because we're live
episodes.
streaming with each other.
We're live recording together.
Exactly.
And then the show's available to patrons only. So if you're a patron that would like to see those shows, but maybe not be on the show,
come on
that's
over.
an option. Go check us out.
Hey, or you can support us by putting a comment, putting a like, sharing some stuff of ours. We always love that too. That's a great way to help our podcast and any other podcast that you support, really, that you like.
All right. I think we're ready for some news nugs.
Let's do it. News Nugs, where we get high and read the news to you.
So Nevada's first cannabis consumption lounge poised to open by end of February.
Finally, it is happened to Nevada. It's okay.
Does it get it?
Oh, yeah, it's still in there. I believe so.
Finally.
Yeah. It's happened to Nevada.
So there's a total of 19 conditional license holders for Nevada consumption lounges at varying levels of progress, but only one has passed inspections and is now greenlit to open.
I wonder what's on the inspections list.
I'm sure there's a lot. Over the past few months, the Nevada Cannabis Control Board has approved a handful of cannabis consumption lounge licenses. On February 15th, the CCB announced that Thrive Cannabis Marketplace's lounge, called Smoke and Mirrors, is the first to receive its final license in Nevada. We've marked a lot of firsts in Nevada, and we're honored to yet again be at the forefront of Nevada's cannabis industry by officially launching the first regulated cannabis lounge in the state, said Thrive Cannabis Marketplace CEO and managing partner, Mitch Britton. With Smoke and Mirrors, we have created an unparalleled destination for cannabis enthusiasts to enjoy a diverse range of premium products and a really engaging atmosphere. The lounge will offer both a curated selection of premium cannabis products, as well as infused beverages, although alcohol will not be available as according to Nevada state law.
I mean, when you got THC beverages, I am excited about beverages, and because we have powder shit here and stuff that you can add to your own drink, but like I really want to experience products that stand on their own with THC content. So that's really cool.
Yeah, I don't think you need alcohol at these kind of places. I think people will be fine with the ability to smoke
cannabis and like
have
having a tasty snack and some beverages that doesn't have to have alcohol in them, but they can have more THC in them. The Nevada Cannabis Compliance Board also released a statement about Thrive, sharing that it is the first cannabis consumption lounge inspected by board agents to ensure the facility is adhering to state regulations. Which, by the way, I think it's such a good idea for like cannabis companies to have their own consumption lounge. Like that makes sense because you could buy it there and then you're welcome to smoke it there.
Exactly.
Thrive first received its conditional license in June 2023, and in September, it received a special use permit from the Clark County Zoning Commission. We're thrilled to be among the first in the state to do so, Britton said at the time. This is a huge milestone for us, and we can't wait to finish this incredible new offering in the Vegas Valley. As of February 13th, the lounge inspection was completed, which allowed Thrive to receive its final state license for operation. The CCB also shared that there are a total of 19 lounges that have been approved for a conditional license so far, 14 attached to dispensaries, see, and 5 that are independently located. Which that would be the question is, then what would they sell? Would it be a cover cost to get in for those places? I would be interested in seeing how that works
Yeah, like
because
if they're not dispensaries, are they still
yeah, you
able to
gotta
sell weed at all?
right.
Like,
How
how does
would
that
that?
work? Is it
How would
bring
they
your
make
own?
money?
Is it like a fee to just be able to smoke there? You bring
Right.
your own, kind of like a bottle fee or whatever when you bring
Yeah,
your own, like
corking fee
corking
or
fee, yeah,
something.
whatever they call
Yeah,
that shit. I'm
that's
not drinking.
interesting. Smoke and Mirrors will operate in what used to be a strip club. Well, we gotta
Okay.
go straight to that. Oh, it used to be a strip club located west of the strip at 2975 South Sammy Davis Drive. If all goes according to plan, Smoke and Mirrors will open by the end of the month. Last month,
If all
former
goes according
CCB.
to plan, so it's not official.
I know, right? It's always like wishy washy with these fuckers.
Like we've been hearing about the cannabis consumption lounges
I
coming in
know.
Nevada for like we've been talking about this shit
Finally,
for
they
a
passed
year.
inspection,
So
but
this
we'll
was like
see.
this
But we'll
month,
see.
because we want to do a PSM trip out to Vegas eventually.
Yeah, but we
Probably
gotta make
next year,
sure.
since this year we're doing Colorado.
Right.
All right. Continue.
The Weed Wonks podcast. Who is this? Kilmes spoke about the long wait to get consumption lounges rolling, and how more are expected to open in the near future. It's an unknown market. There's no blueprint anywhere, Klima said. We see many business plans and projections, but nobody really knows. Again, wishy-washy as fuck.
Until we open it up.
Right. We don't know how successful it is going to be, which is very exciting.
People are gonna fucking love it. Like that's what people have been waiting. We've been waiting for it, so I know other people have been waiting for it.
That's true.
Oh, you're finished. I just realized. I thought you had one more sentence. So the process has taken much longer than anticipated, as we were just fucking saying.
Yeah.
But Klimas explained that there are a lot of moving parts connected to this new business opportunity. Obviously, when you're talking about social consumption, you've got local governments playing a huge role in that. You've got law enforcement and the anxieties that law enforcement has deservedly so around social consumption. Planet 13 is the only other consumption lounge conditional license holder that has publicly announced a potential opening date, but so far has not received its final state license for that to occur. It initially announced the renderings for its lounge in November 2023, which is supposed to include VIP booths, bong chandeliers, and cannabis cocktails.
Oh, those be a bitch to fucking clean though. A bong chandelier? Wow. I don't want to be the guy cleaning them shits.
You would have to like steam them or something.
I mean, who knows? How big are we talking here?
I have no idea.
That Planet 13, they also have
it's a huge
location
dispensary,
here, and they have one here.
We have Planet 13.
They have a license
Florida?
here,
but they don't have a store.
But they don't have a store. But they have a license. They have a license.
Interesting. Yeah. I wonder why they don't have a store.
Because they're waiting for it to go rec. Yeah, exactly.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
So we're thrilled to share our exciting plans for our trailblazing cannabis consumption lounge. From day one, our goal has been to out Vegas, and this is another big step in that direction. It's an extraordinary space for cannabis novices, connoisseurs, tourists, and locals to enjoy cannabis while experiencing world-class entertainment.
World-class,
said Larry Scheffler, co-CEO of Planet 13. One of the main goals for this year was to increase the utilization of the superstore to drive more traffic and revenue while improving cost structure and operating margins. We are executing on the goal while continuing to define Planet 13 as a differentiated retail brand with national recognition. The New Woo dispensary, located on Las Vegas Paiute Tribeland, I hope I said that right, Tribeland north of downtown Las Vegas, is technically the state's first operating consumption lounge, which opened in 2019. What? So there's one since 2019.
New Woo
dispensary. I'll have to check that out. So the first 3 conditional licenses. Oh, that's yours.
The first 3 conditional licenses were granted to Planet 13, Thrive Cannabis Marketplace, and Soul Cannabis in June 2023. In July, LA Lounge LLC was the first independently located consumption lounge to receive a license, followed by 3 more license grants for Deep Roots Harvest, Global Harmony, and KV Group. In October, additional licenses were granted to Curly Holdings, Green Thumb Industries Inc., Desert
Desert evolution.
Desert Evolution.
It's not dessert.
Sorry.
You probably just wanted dessert.
Exactly. LLC, Hierarchy, Nevada Pure. These are all
Just a bunch
dispensaries,
of
right?
a bunch of cannabis companies.
13 total number of conditional license holders, which was followed by 6 more. New changes to Nevada's cannabis law went into effect on January 1st, which includes an increase to the possession limit. Previously, consumers were limited to possessing just 1 ounce, and now they can carry up to 2.5
Nice.
ounces.
I mean, I don't know why you'd. I mean, I guess if you bought,
Like if you buy, yeah.
if you
just come
bought
back
and you're
from the
going
store,
home,
right.
yeah, okay.
Also, now
Other than that,
adult
I wouldn't be
use.
going around with 2.5.
I mean, everybody's not.
I mean, if you're
you.
about to go on vacation.
Also, now adult use cannabis stores can sell to medical cannabis patients, as no new medical cannabis dispensary licenses will be approved, except for regions where adult use cannabis has been banned. That's one of the big changes, but I think there are a bunch of things in the bill that are really designed to be business friendly and moving our cannabis industry into the next phase, said Senator Dallas Harris, a sponsor of the bill that led to the changes.
So maybe, probably at the end of this month.
Hopefully.
Actually, not even the end of this month.
Possibly,
when you guys are
maybe.
hearing this episode, this is going to be already in March. So we should know by the time we air this episode if they actually opened by the end of the month.
Vamos a ver.
So, because we're filming this on the 24th. Let's see.
Vamos a ver.
So, if we post the episode, we got to remember to, let me make.
Yeah, right. Jot that
make
down
a note
in your
to
calendar.
remember to check that.
I could bring us into this next story. Germany legalizes cannabis, but makes it hard to buy. The German parliament has backed a new law to allow the recreational use of cannabis. Under the law, over 18s in Germany will be allowed to possess substantial amounts of cannabis, but strict rules will make it difficult to buy the drug. Right, that's what they got to do. They just got to make it available and then put every
legal,
possible hurdle in your way to get it.
Impossible to buy.
Smoking cannabis is so ridiculous. Smoking cannabis in many public spaces will become legal from April 1st. Possession of up to 25 grams, equivalent to dozens of strong joints, is allowed to be in public spaces. In private homes, the legal limit will be 50 grams. Already, police in some parts of Germany, such as Berlin, often turn a blind eye to smoking in public, although possession of the drug for recreational use is illegal and can be prosecuted. Use of the drug among people have been soaring for years despite the existing law, says Health Minister Karl Lauterbach, who is instigating the reforms.
Yeah, no, it says young people. I think all people, like you said, is more correct.
Oh, among young people.
Yeah, you missed the young people. She's like, among young people. It says use of the drug among young people. And you just said people, not young people.
Oh, well.
But I think it would be more, I think it's not just young people.
Yeah, at this point.
Yeah. I don't think we're young. You know, I'm sure there's plenty of.
Oh, girl, there's been a lot of signs to pop up lately letting me know that I am not fucking young. And it hurts. It hurts a little bit, waking in the sweats in the night. It hurts a little bit.
All right, so he wants to undermine the black market, protect smokers from contaminated cannabis, and cut revenue streams for organized crime gangs. But legal cannabis cafes will not suddenly spring up all over the country. A ferocious debate about decriminalizing cannabis has been raging for years in Germany, with doctors' groups expressing concerns for young people and conservatives saying the liberalization will fuel drug use. After a stormy session on Friday in Bundestag, Germany's parliament, the vote was eventually passed by 407 votes to 226. Simon Borchardt of the opposition conservative CDU told MPs that the government had gone ahead with its completely unnecessary, confused law, regardless of warnings from doctors, police, and psychotherapists.
What? Mr. Lauterbach said the current situation was no longer tenable. The number of consumers aged between 18 and 25 has doubled in the past 10 years. After the vote, he said the law would dry out the black market and fix the failed drug policy. As so often in Germany, the law approved by MPs is complicated. Smoking cannabis in some areas, such as near schools and sports grounds, will still be illegal, which is fine.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it by school.
Yeah, crucially, the market will be strictly regulated, so buying the drug will not be easy. Original plans to allow licensed shops and pharmacies to sell cannabis have been scrapped over EU concerns that this could lead to a surge in drug exports. Instead, non-commercial members clubs, dubbed cannabis social clubs, will grow and distribute a limited amount of the drug. Each club will have an upper limit of 500 members. Consuming cannabis on site will not be allowed, and membership will only be available to German residents.
Okay, so no consumption lounges there, just buying it. You know, I don't understand why people think it's so complicated. I mean, I haven't kept up because I've heard that the Netherlands has kind of like scaled back on the whole coffee shops and stuff. But like when I lived in Germany, I didn't know where the hell to buy weed. I just drove to the Netherlands and to the closest town there because every town, like good sized city, has these coffee shops. And I just found a coffee shop and I bought the weed there. Like people know how it works. And the way it worked there was like you can only buy like 5 grams. That's it. That's all you were allowed to buy at a coffee shop.
Damn.
But a lot of the coffee shops broke the rules and sold you more.
Right.
Which
because they know how ridiculous.
I have a crazy story about that we should probably tell another time. Because I used to go like once a month. I had this one shop that I went to all the time, and that knew me, so they did the more than 5 grams for me because I would take it back to Germany with me to have for like a month. So I buy a big ass bag, and they had to stop doing that because they were cracking down on like people bringing that rule.
Yeah,
but like it worked. The coffee shop thing worked. I think. Like, why doesn't more of that happen?
Because everybody
we
wants
should have
their
coffee
cut.
shops here.
Everybody wants their cut, and then the people who do get a cut want to make a bigger cut, so then they try to make it so that they can be the ones to get the biggest cut. Did I make sense there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Wait, am I green now, right?
Yeah.
Because we were okay, just making sure. So I'm next. Growing your own cannabis will also be permitted. All right. Okay. That's cool.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
With up to 3 marijuana plants allowed per household.
All right.
This means that Germany could be in the paradoxical position of allowing possession of rather large amounts of the drug. True, because they're only allowing how many grams they were saying, like 50, while at the same time making it difficult to purchase. Regular smokers would benefit, but occasional users would struggle to buy it legally, and tourists would be excluded. Critics say this will simply fuel the black market. Over the next few years, the government wants to assess the impact of the new law and eventually introduce the licensed sale of cannabis. But given how tortuous the debate has been so far, nothing is certain. Meanwhile, opposition conservatives say that if they get into government next year, they will scrap the law entirely. Germany is unlikely to become Europe's new Amsterdam anytime soon. Damn. I look, I loved living in Germany. I didn't realize how much I loved it until I was not living there anymore. But oh my god, I would have loved it so much more if like weed was accessible and I didn't have to drive to the Netherlands to get it.
Yeah. It would have been very, very effective. Hey guys, if you're not watching us on YouTube, what are you waiting for?
You should. You can see us twinning.
Woo! My daughter today was like,
yeah, there we are.
My daughter today was like, who's Mary Jane? I'm like, she's the lady that made the shirt.
She's my friend.
I just didn't want to get into that conversation, dude. You know what I mean?
She doesn't need to know yet.
Not yet. Like
she doesn't need to know the lingo.
She knows the medicine. She knows THC. Don't touch that. But I ain't gonna teach her the slang yet.
Yeah, we're not gonna talk about who Mary Jane is.
I love you. I don't know who she is, but I love her. I do love Mary Jane. Hey.
So we have one of my favorite segments because y'all know I love to watch TV. So we're gonna talk a little screen time. Last episode, I told D, bitch, finally watch something that I tell you to watch and watch True Detective Night Country. And I think the only reason she listened to this one is because she had seen the first one and she already knew.
Yeah, well, I said, like, look, I said I do like the True Detective series. I watched the first one, I thought it was phenomenal. I watched the second one, I thought it was good too. The one with Rachel McAdams and Colin Farrell and oh my god, what's his other guy's name? The tall guy, the funny guy.
Girl, I don't know names.
Oh my god, Vince Vaughn. Vince Vaughn.
Oh yeah, okay.
I was about to be like, what was it? Your money, baby. But I thought that one was good. I missed the last one, but when I heard you guys talking about it, and I love Jodie Foster. Like, she's phenomenal in every single thing she's in. I've always loved her. So
Do you
we
know that
watched
this
it.
actress's name?
Evangeline, I don't know.
No,
No,
yeah.
I've
I
never
just
seen
know
this lady before.
Navarro. That's it.
Yeah, and I enjoyed her cheek piercings. I was a fan of
She's
those.
hot.
But
And
I
Jodie they were badass. They were both
You're
badass
right.
bitches. And it's just like we were saying earlier, so refreshing to see a show with two strong female leads.
Right.
And
not painted in the typical picture that you would normally see women leads.
Like-
And also too, you guys know that I do watch TV, but I jump ship a lot of times
Mhm.
when I get frustrated or I just feel like it's a repetitive storyline. Or like, lately I was saying a lot of things that they're making are very formulaic. They're just trying to make money, so they try to do the same thing they did somewhere else. And like I was sick of seeing the narrative of like, oh, wealthy people this, or like, no, these people are regular people, but they're doing wealthy people type shit. And I was just like, that is super not relatable.
yeah.
These people have real problems. These ladies are not character. They're not like
No, they're not the leading
they're
lady
not
that's like a
ladies. Like,
damsel in distress.
it's not
or
about
the love interest or
right.
like,
It's not about a gender thing. Like you could tell that a lot of times I
can we
read
spoiler alert yet?
I
Like,
read scripts and
I
I'm
don't know
like,
how far Uncle Jesse's gotten in, because I don't know. I kind of wanted to talk about how it ended, but I don't want to spoil it for him if he's still watching.
Well, it got fucking crazy in the second to last episode. Well, wait.
Well, it was only 6 episodes, y'all.
Right,
So
which is great. And that's also very up my alley because it's like you
I
can get it
wanted
over
the
with.
full 8. I didn't think they were going to be able to pull off
I could've
closing that
watched 8.
storyline in just 6,
Mhm.
but they did. They were able to get it tied up.
Yeah, and not feel like it was rushed at the end.
Yeah.
And not feel like it was rushed at the end because the end does reveal a lot of like, what happened.
Yes.
But it doesn't feel like they tried to cram everything into one episode. It was like just enough to fill one whole action-packed episode. But it was lovely to see like three-dimensional characters and storylines that women were in, but it wasn't all about them being the lady. And they were doing, oh my God, Jodie Foster was like such a horn dog and
fucking
like,
everybody.
yeah, and just like whatevering about it. Not it being like a main plot line of her having to
it's just referenced a couple
yeah,
times.
it was just this, whatever. It was part of the story. It was definitely part of the story because of the relationship she had with that guy.
Bro.
But
how crazy what happened with Pryor? I don't want to like say
I know. I was expecting it to get crazy, but I didn't expect it to get crazy that quick.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, and then it was like, I feel like after that happened there, you start to like quantify what a shitbag of a person that other guy was, and you're just like trying to,
yeah.
But still his dad, dude. Like, whoa. And then him having to go through all of that poor guy.
That poor kid.
Yes.
Yeah. I felt so bad for him. I was like, the whole time, I was like, he better not die. He better not die. He better, like, I was just worried about, and then
about
that
him?
crazy thing happened.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
We're doing it with, I want to say so much more, but I don't want to give any spoilers in case. I don't know if Uncle Jesse.
Should I go to the kitchen for
no,
for 10 minutes?
Conversation.
Well, we're gonna wrap it up with the other thing that I just recently binged.
Oh yeah, everybody's talking about this on TikTok.
The entire world, or at least the entire TikTok community, at least a good portion of it, has been captivated by Reesa Teesa's story of Who the Fuck Did I Marry? My God.
So she did this on her own accord. It wasn't like the show. There's a show called Who the Fuck Did I Marry, right?
There is?
Yeah, there's a show I think called Who the Fuck Did I Marry?
So yeah, we got here Reesa Teesa on the screen. This is just showing some of the screenshots of her parts. Look at that. Millions of views. She has a 50-part series using the longest feature on TikTok of 10 minutes.
So she has 50 videos and each of them are 10?
They're about 10 minutes. There's a few that may not be a full 10 minutes that she stopped it sooner than 10, but they were pretty much she do 10-minute long.
Are these like she does these like an hour at a time? Like how often? Like what is she?
I don't know, because by the time I started watching it, she had already posted them all. So I wasn't like with it as she was posting it. So I was able to just play the playlist, and when you play a playlist, it just plays the next one and the next one without you having to swipe or anything. So I could just play the playlist, and I would like do dishes or take a shower or drive, like listening to a podcast. I was listening to this woman's story, and is insane.
This lady has captivated the world,
and so many people have been. She's such a great storyteller, very detailed, very great at telling.
Well, I feel like she's putting all of it out there. Like this is a
putting
real
it
story,
all out
and
there.
it's
basically the story about how she met, married, and divorced her pathological lying husband. Like really crazy pathological lying. Like he was like full out having fake conversations.
I saw that
with imaginary people on the phone
for every day
in front of her. Like, you know how when you can like only hear one side of the conversation? He was doing that to her every fucking day. He would have like a fake conversation with a brother that he doesn't talk to anymore.
That's so weird.
He would just be like, "Hey, bro, what's up?" You know, like a whole like that's insane to me. Crazy lies about money, about the ability to buy a car, about the ability to buy a house. She marries a man. She almost has a baby with him.
Oh my
God. It's
a
crazy story. And everybody, like the whole world has been like sucked in by this. It feels like the whole world, at least our little world.
Yeah.
It's
I mean, yesterday was everywhere. Obviously, honestly,
million people.
I had to like look it up because I saw it come up so often. I was like, what is everybody fucking talking about?
Yeah.
And then I saw the first video, which sets up the beginning.
Yeah, she gives an introduction, like the story she's gonna
tell.
And
she talks about how he forged documents and showed her fake screenshots and how all these really crazy conversations he was having on the phone, even talking to his employees and shit like that. Like, wow.
So many. He had a financial advisor that he was talking to on the phone all the time.
Of course, to keep up the lie of him having money.
So much. If you guys have not seen that, you should see it. What's insane is that she has millions and millions of views on these videos. And at some point, I don't know how many people she had when she started this story, but she definitely monetized it. I hope. Because she deserves to try to get it.
Does anybody really know? Because we don't know. People talk shit like, oh,
people are counting her coins. People are trying to count her coins, and they're like looking at her views, and they're like, based on what I made, this is, bro. Who cares?
Because at first I was like, how is she making so much money?
TikTok pays.
Right, but
look, you gotta have millions of views for it to really, really pay. And she's having millions of views on 10-minute videos, and it's 50 parts.
Yeah, I will.
So like everybody's like, oh, she made like 80K. She made like this. Everybody's trying to fucking figure out what she made. I hope she gets her BMW with the cognac interior. Supposedly, I saw that BMW is giving her the car because she mentioned this car several times because the guy kept taking her car shopping like he was going to buy her a car, and it never happened. And she fell in love with this car, and she really wanted this car, and she mentions it pretty often throughout the series. And I think BMW is giving it to her. They posted something about going to find a cognac interior, blah 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 blah, and like tagged her.
Nice. Well, and then I heard you guys say that the guy the pathological liar is now also in the limelight.
Yes, he got outed by okay, you know how TikTok has detectives, like they figure shit out.
Oh yeah.
She never named him. She never gave anything or anybody close to him named any of the people around him for people to figure out who he is. But there's sleuths online, and they figured it out, and somebody outed him. And once he got outed, I believe he outed himself and posted his own response saying that she's a liar, that he caught her cheating with some guy named Bradley. And then he was saying, I've been talking to Netflix to tell my side of the story, and we've been talking for like 16 days now, and we're about to start filming my story or whatever. And he's like, he shared a video of a Netflix tour, right? And like as proof that he was there.
Himself in there?
No, he was not in it. So people are like, oh, people obviously reverse looked it up on the internet, and they found it on somebody else's page, and they're like, see, he didn't post this, it was somebody else's, which is what he kept doing to her. He would find things online,
right, and to keep the lie going.
Yeah,
that's so crazy. That's a full-time job.
When people found the video, then he just posts a selfie of himself in the fucking studios, and it's obviously like photoshopped. The guy is crazy. So now he's like gaslighting the public.
I need to see this guy. That's crazy. This guy needs help.
Yeah,
like mental, not like financial.
Help.
He needs mental help.
He does. He definitely needs help. It's insane.
Man, the fact that he had how many ex-wives showed up?
I think 2 ex-wives, and I think 1 came out online, and some ex-girlfriend or something, and like a few people are like corroborating her story for sure.
Crazy.
It is crazy. Who the fuck did she marry? And she never said his name. She kept calling him Legion.
Yeah, because he
but then
doesn't
it
need to.
came out he's like Jerome something. I don't remember his name, but like,
Yeah,
oh
that's
my god,
pretty
it's a pretty
crazy.
crazy story.
Hey,
And that's
man,
just somebody just sharing something that fucking happened in their life. That's insane.
that is
It's better
crazy.
than some of the shit I've seen in a while.
Oh man,
She was just really good storyteller. Also, like the way she told the story, gave the details, and drew you in. Okay.
what did she do before? Did she talk about what
She
she did?
works in law enforcement, not in law enforcement. She's not like she works like an administration part of law
Okay.
enforcement for the. It's in Georgia. I can't remember what it was like. I don't know if it's the troopers or whatever,
Uh huh.
but it was some Georgia law enforcement that she worked at
Huh,
in the
okay.
offices. So yeah.
Very interesting. Look at that.
Well, she's going to London and Paris now and getting her car.
Yeah,
So go get it,
there.
girl.
Get your bag, girl. Get your bag, girl. Hey, you know what time it is? It's everybody's favorite, well, locals' favorite
My
segment.
favorite intro for sure.
Yeah, mine too. Leave on.
I love you, Miami!
I love you, Miami. All right. So hemp crackdown clears final House hurdle ahead of floor hearing.
Boy.
Alternative cannabinoids would be banned. Delta 9 THC would be capped in edibles. Legislation that would ban many hemp products and restrict others has advanced through its final committee of reference in the House. The Appropriations Committee moved forward. Rep. Tommy Gregory's legislation, HB 1613, despite members of both parties voicing concerns. This was the bill's fourth committee stop and the last chance for opponents of the bill to rehearse familiar arguments against the legislation that have been rejected throughout the process this year. The sponsor said his bill was intended to clear up mistakes previous legislatures made in not regulating psychoactive components derived from cannabis, and that legislative intent was the production of industrial hemp. He also said the bill was not part of an industry food fight between hemp and medical cannabis, a contention disputed by members of the public and opposition.
Oh, you went up too much.
I'm sorry.
The House product is identical to Senator Colleen Burton's bill SB 1698, proposing significant changes to a hemp market that has become established in the state in recent years. That bill already passed the Senate without a single no vote.
Wow.
The legislation would put a cap on Delta 9 THC, which could negatively affect the 487 growers and roughly 10,000 retail outlets in the state. This would ban full spectrum CBD, in which trace amounts of Delta 9 are used with other minor cannabinoids to create an entourage effect. The bill would also ban cannabinoids that serve as functional alternatives to Delta 9 THC, the euphoria inducing compound commodified by the state's medical marijuana program. Gregory acknowledged these prohibitions would impact their businesses, given that many hemp products would be prohibited for in state sale or production. The banned substances would include Delta 8 tetrahydrocannabinol, Delta 10 tetrahydrocannabinol, hexahydrocannabinol, tetrahydrocannabinol acetate, tetrahydrocannabinol phorol, and tetrahydrocannabivarin.
I wish they gave us the acronyms that are associated with those instead
Well,
of
I
the
was like
scientific
this.
names,
Well,
because we know that's like Delta 10, Delta 8.
yeah.
I don't know what the hexa one, the
Oh, the
yeah, they're the O's and the
TCA,
different, yeah,
TT,
there's
yeah,
the THCA.
THTP or whatever, TTP, HTTP.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's I don't remember them.
I know there's so many of them. I favor regulation, Gregory said, likening hemp to an over-the-counter drug.
It revises the definition of hemp to outline that hemp extract may not exceed 0.3% total Delta 9 THC concentration on a wet weight basis or exceed 2 milligrams per serving and 10 milligrams per container on a wet weight basis.
That sets a more rigorous standard than the federal one established in the 2018 Farm Bill that created initial parameters for the then fledgling industry without arbitrary packaging limits. It would also impact full spectrum CBD products, which meet the federal requirements. Oh, why am I sorry?
I mean, go ahead.
And include minor cannabinoids as well. The bill, if it passes, is a boom to the medical marijuana industry as it removes competition for the market share the hemp sector provides with THC.
Oh, HHC.
HHC.
That's the one that we're
I
trying
always
to
call
remember.
it HH Craig because I'm like, oh, whatever. And other cannabinoids that interact with CB1 receptors. Members of the public, as was the case before every committee vote on this bill, futilely argued that the legislation would do everything from criminalize producers to depriving people who rely on these products for palliative purposes. Multiple military veterans noted the incongruity between needing the healing afforded to them by the 2018 Farm Bill's allowance of these compounds and the choice of using medical marijuana, which is federally illegal, though tolerated by recent presidential administration. Who fucking wrote that? Though tolerated.
One speaker contended 9 similar bills are being run in other states currently, charging the medical marijuana industry with being behind all these legislative efforts. Objections from the public didn't move Republicans who control the committee into voting against the legalization at the committee stop, though some expressed concerns about the process. Rep. Alex Andrade said that as opposed to medical marijuana, hemp is not regulated for medical purposes, but he supports the bill despite personal frustrations about regulation of consumable because he trusts the sponsor. Rep. Linda Cheney found it concerning that consumers will simply source this material from out of state or the black market, expressing frustration over a lack of amendments to mollify consumer concerns. I don't know if I can support this if it gets to the floor without amendments, she said.
Gregory said there's still time to amend the bill, a move that would require it to be sent back to the Senate for reconciliation if changes are made. He said that he would be comfortable with that if needed. The bill enjoys the support of the Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, FDACS. It also has a financial component, $2 million in non-recurring funds to allow the Florida Department of Law Enforcement for testing equipment. Republican Representative Jim Mooney, down on the bill, expressed concerns about the $2 million expenditure as part of his objection. Yeah.
But others, including Rep. Ralph Masulo, likened hemp products to snake oil with dubious medical representations. Entirely coincidentally, Masulo is sponsoring a bill capping THC and recreational cannabis.
Wow.
Should it become legal later this year. And he has said that bill is intended in part to protect the state's medical marijuana scheme.
Well, why is he calling it scheme in the first place?
The effective date of the legislation has been pushed back during the process to October 1st, 2024 to allow more time for implementation. Nowhere in this article did they say when the vote is.
Yeah. That's a little, well, it was, yeah, I don't know.
So apparently this bill is happening in a lot of other states too, they're saying. So
is it other places where these big corporate,
where there's also medical cannabis or like there's the cannabis industry, there's bills like this trying to also be passed in other states against, I guess they don't want the hemp people being able to give that psychoactive effect as well. They're like, oh, it's got to be limited to the 0.3. They got it because trying to cut out all the loopholes. You know what I mean? Because the loopholes is how they're making these other cannabinoids products that actually give you a little bit of a psychoactive.
Well, which I honestly, I want CBD to be, legal in all of its forms, but I also do think some of this stuff I wouldn't smoke. Some of this stuff
I wouldn't. But if other people want to, I guess.
I guess it's for those people who can't get a hold of like Delta
they don't
9.
They don't have the money to be getting their license here. Maybe it's easier to buy like Delta 8 products.
But it's still like, I don't know. I'm a little bit apprehensive when it comes to those just random. These cannabinoids, we haven't done a lot of testing on them. They don't really.
We
know
talked
much
about
it
with the Trusted Canna Nurse, and like there's still studies coming out about it. So, but like it would put so many small businesses and like other businesses at risk.
Yeah,
a lot of jobs,
it's hard to
farmers.
It's hard to not. Also, it's hard to turn the blind eye and be like, oh, corporate cannabis has its hands in this too.
Yeah, they just want all of the pie. They're not willing to share the pie. And that's just greedy as fuck.
Yeah. And it's apparent. We can tell. We see
So
your
our
epidermis
next
is
story is interesting. So, what to know about Florida's social media ban for kids under 16, which DeSantis may veto? It says. Interesting.
Oh wow, he's gonna be the savior on this one. He's gonna play the savior.
I think it should be up to the parents, honestly. I mean, I wouldn't, I would like to wait for my kid to be over 16 to get on social media, but I don't think the government needs to be involved.
Yeah, right. That should be left up to the parents.
So, Florida lawmakers passed a bill Thursday that, if signed by Governor Ron DeSantis, would be one of the most restrictive laws on social media usage for kids, banning the use of apps for those under 16, even if they have parental consent. Key facts about this issue. The bill would prevent minors under 16 from making accounts on social media sites that track user activity, have addictive features, or let users upload content and interact with other people, and require the sites to use a third-party age verification system.
Social media companies would be forced to delete accounts held by minors in Florida and delete any information tied to the accounts if the law is signed by DeSantis, who has expressed concern about the bill.
DeSantis has hesitated to support the bill in part because it doesn't allow parental choice, prohibiting children from using the apps even if their parents give permission. And lawmakers refuse to add language to the bill to appease his concerns, according to Politico. Like, I have really mixed feelings on this. Like, I really don't feel like there's any reason why kids under 16 should be on social media, but like, but again, I don't think needs to be a law that's enforced and there's going to be penalties behind it. Continue.
I don't think there needs to be laws.
I think the law should be on the companies themselves to potentially have rules about kids different ages.
But yeah, like
certain not on the kids. Not to say that like, oh, this kid's breaking the law. Like that's where it's terrible.
Well, right. Yeah, they better not be saying the kids breaking the law or their parents allowing it. I think we'll keep reading, but it does have like a big fee against the social media company if they allow a minor to have an account. Continue.
Republican House Speaker Paul Renner said after the bill was passed Thursday that he's very excited about what this means for the future of our children here in Florida, adding this bill is the strongest in the nation and will pass constitutional muster.
Republican Rep. Tyler Sorois, another supporter of the bill, pushed back on the idea that the bill didn't give parents power, saying if you understand the features are addictive, if you accept that, then you understand there can be no parental consent.
And now parents all over the place, all over the world could be like, hey, you can't have social media. It's against the law to tell your children not to use social media. The bill overwhelmingly passed the Florida House 108-7.
Wow.
And the Senate approved 23-14.
So here's a quote from Mr. DeSantis. I think it's harmful for kids to be on some of these platforms that have certain functionality that is addictive. I agree with that, DeSantis said Thursday, but I also believe that parents need to have a role in this.
Yeah, just like women.
Kind of makes me feel icky that I
just like women should have a say in what they do with their bodies.
Agree with DeSantis.
Right. Big number, $50,000. That's how much per violation a social media platform could be fined, according to the text of the bill. If a platform doesn't delete an account that a parent requests be deleted, it could be fined up to $10,000 in damages. Whoa, a whopping $10,000. Well, no, but that's for the social media. How are you going to enforce that?
At location, if you could tell by location if they're in Florida, I guess. I don't know. But like, what if somebody that doesn't live in Florida visits Florida?
Right.
Like, how does that work?
How are they even going to track that?
I have no idea, but I'm sure there's ways. So what to watch for? How DeSantis responds to the bill. He wouldn't say Friday whether he would sign the bill, the Orlando Sentinel reported, and said his office would be looking at it over the weekend.
Yeah, he'd be wiping his ass with it over
so
the
by
weekend.
The time this airs, it would have come and decided on, I would think.
Yeah, I think he's wiping his ass with it, but we'll see. Key background. Other states have tried to pass bills addressing children's use of social media, though none as strict as Florida's. In August, a federal judge blocked an Arkansas law that would have made parental consent a requirement for minors to create new social media accounts from going into effect. In a ruling that questioned the law's constitutionality and effectiveness, the Associated Press reported a similar law requiring parental consent for children under 16 to join social media apps in Ohio that was supposed to go into effect last month was also put on hold due to legal challenges. Because how the fuck can you do that? Mm-hmm. And California and Utah have also made efforts to limit children's social media usage.
tangent, it says DeSantis' disagreement with lawmakers over this bill has led to questions of how much influence he holds since dropping out of the presidential race. The legislature passed the bill Thursday just after DeSantis said he thought it still needed work. The Orlando Sentinel reported, noting that this could present DeSantis's first real challenge from a Republican-run legislator that has largely supported him throughout his term and during his run for president, which ended after the Iowa caucuses. I mean, look, I'm gonna try to keep my kid off social media for as long as possible, but like you can also monitor your kids and restrict how much they can use it. You know, if you want to like allow your kid to have a private social media account for just with their friends, you see who they're following, you know, they can't get DM'd or, you know, all the, you know, and you could just check if you wanted to do that. So if there's parents that are okay with their kids having a limited access or whatever, it's their kid.
Right.
You know, I don't understand the purpose of this law. I don't.
Yeah, it's doing a whole lot of something for fucking nothing because at the end of the day, that's really hard to
protect
enforced.
kids from social media.
I do, but I also
But I
believe we
think
need to
that's on the
protect kids if they are going to be working too.
Or and we need
So
to
I
protect
don't
kids from being
understand.
shot by guns. Like
Yeah, I
there's
don't
so many
understand.
other things.
Right,
that
there's
when
so that could use the attention. There's so many other issues right now that could
Mhm,
use the attention instead of this right here. I think this is kind of, you know, we could put this one on the
Ridiculous.
back burner for now, guys. Thanks. All right, and we've reached the interview portion of our show. So glad we had a wonderful conversation with Mikaela de la Myco. She is a mushroom educator. She serves as a mother, an educator, a folk herbalist, a community organizer, and an entheogen facilitator. Her platforms, Mama de la Myco and the Mushroom, generate educational content that weaves a tapestry of medicine woman, psychedelic mother, and sacred hoe. In all her creations, Mikaela de la Myco has made the commitment to rematriate the entheogens by advocating for ethics and womb-to-tomb psychedelic literacy. Here is our interview. We hope you enjoy. Mikaela, we're so happy to have you. Thanks so much for hanging out with us today. We wanted to know a little bit more about your background, the kind of retreats you have, and you know, just the kind of how you incorporate psilocybin and cannabis as well, right? Into you know, spirituality and you know, all of that.
Yeah, sure. I mean, a lot of my information and education is on my website, mushwomb.love. So if people are curious about integrating that work into their life, I have a lot of resources in that space. I'm working on a project right now called Mothers of the Mushroom, and that's a research and resources project. We ran a research project starting last year, surveying mothers that ate psilocybin during pregnancy, breastfeeding, and postpartum, and have received almost 350 entries from that study. And so now we'll start releasing and have already started releasing data and information that we learned in that research project. So that's really exciting. And I'm really grateful for the opportunity to give people this information because there isn't hardly any information out there, at least done in kind of an organized way, right? To build a claim for mushrooms potentially even being safe or beneficial during that part of a person's life. I am working on that with a couple of other researchers, and we will be offering that as a website come Mother's Day. So that's really dope. We are like fundraising for that project and sharing a lot with the community as well. So if any one of your listeners chose to eat mushrooms during pregnancy, breastfeeding, and postpartum, we are still receiving stories, and their voices and their testimony can be part of a really wonderful project that's going to help a lot of mothers in the future make this choice, or at least make a more informed decision for themselves.
Wow,
So,
it wasn't
yeah.
even. I didn't even know that that was something like I'm really new to that. What kinds of things would you use psilocybin for while you're pregnant?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, you know, prenatal Anxieties going into the birth. I mean, people are extremely apprehensive about what that birth experience is going to be like for them. Maybe they're dealing with depression going into their pregnancies, right? Women that are already on SSRIs, perhaps, going into pregnancy and are now faced with the choice of either taking a pharmaceutical medication and harming their fetus with that, or just not having any kind of mental health support chemically and are depressed their entire pregnancy, and then going through the birth experience and then potentially dealing with even more postpartum depression. So I've shared a lot of my story in the past, but I was dealing with alcoholism and come from a family of alcoholics. So I didn't want to be an alcoholic mother. And I worked with psilocybin mushrooms to help me address my alcohol addiction and was able to successfully clear it going into my pregnancy so I didn't have to be an alcoholic mother. So, I mean, that was a reason that I did that. And also, I was facing a lot of fear going into the birth experience and went on a high dose psilocybin journey of almost 3.5 grams when I was 7 months pregnant to kind of unearth where some of that fear was coming from, and was able to neutralize that energetic charge that I had around the fear and had a really beautiful, successful home birth that was unmedicated and natural. So, um, I also found that during postpartum period, postpartum depression affects 3 million women every year. And there are just horror stories right now going on with mothers in very unsupported postpartum experiences being diagnosed with postpartum depression, given SSRIs, and then, harming their own kids. So we also wanted to just bring to the table, a potential option that's not pharmaceutical drugs and that's not just doing nothing. And what we've seen in the survey study and the answers and the stories that the mothers have been sharing is that they have been profoundly positively impacted by their relationship with psilocybin in their early motherhood, where they're more present, more kind, more grounded, they're sleeping better, the children are eating really well, the children are smart, the children are compassionate people and emotionally intelligent. So it's really good to just know that it's not hurting the kids, and if anything, it's creating better parenting environments and also better outcomes for births and in the postpartum period.
And how like what are the doses that you usually hear, or the kinds of, like, is there a regimen that some of these mothers have used, or is it just maybe like good session while they're pregnant?
So what's really interesting is we did have a question about dosing in the survey. And in the survey, we found that 75% of mothers microdosed or dosed intuitively as opposed to on a protocol. So some mothers use protocols, some mothers, and most of the mothers dosed intuitively. And a large majority microdosed only, but a lot of them also dosed in higher doses. So that's 2 to 3 grams, and some of them 6 grams or more. So there's a range of usage. And on my website, mushrooms.love/mothers of the mushroom, we've already released the survey results of the first 300 mothers who submitted their stories. And it shares and shows all of the statistics right there.
That's amazing. So if
That's
somebody wanted, let's say we have listeners that have used psilocybin during their pregnancy and they found benefits for it, or even afterwards with postpartum, and they wanted to participate in the survey and give their background, how would they go about doing that?
It's a free and open survey. The link is on the website as well. So, yeah, if you look up Mothers of the Mushroom, it's like search engine optimized, so it'll be right there on the top. And there's like a little menu section on the website, and it says, crowdfunding and sponsorship if any businesses want to like get behind this project and help support it. There's a share your story, submit your story, preliminary findings, and also the entheogen assisted motherhood guide. So I wrote a guide 3 years ago. It's 52 pages, and it details the effects and impacts of different earth medicines on pregnant bodies. And it had a section on psilocybin, a section on ayahuasca, peyote, gombo, and even cannabis. So what my vision is really for the future is once we successfully bring this website to the public and properly fund it, we're raising $27,000 for the project. And when we get that to the public, also, get it submitted into academic and scientific research, then we want to bring this framework to the cannabis mothers and survey cannabis mothers and build the same kind of resource and research rich website so that cannabis mothers can also share their stories. And then we can create a database of mothers telling their stories and build a claim that cannabis can also be very supportive and safe in pregnancy too.
That's so
So yeah,
awesome.
I'm just working my ass off, and
Yeah.
just trying
So
to
what inspired
build
you to
things
really
up.
go into this space and go full force with like, sharing this message? What inspired you to want to do this?
Psychedelics are for families, first of all, and I'm an Indigenous person, and I really believe that these sacraments and medicines and drugs are a big part of the cultural framework from which my ancestors came, and so many people's ancestors came, and to be like systematically removed from our original ways of praying, our original ways of healing, has left an incredible scar on the way that we parent and the way that we mother. And my coming back to my relationship with Los Niños Santos, sacred mushroom, cannabis in the way that I have, other sacred plants like ayahuasca and peyote, has completely, and MDMA too. I work with MDMA and LSD as well, but I I found that it has allowed me to show up much more powerfully for my community, for my family, for my child, and for the other children in my, in the lives of the people that I touch and care for very much. So I just I mean, who's gonna do it? I really believe that we need to rematriate entheogens. I'm watching like a lot of white men take the space and take up too much room in the space and think that they're the responsible party and that they need to run the show and give very little respect or recognition to indigenous women as caretakers of the psychedelic community and just all communities in general. And so we're taking up arms. Like, I'm not alone in this. Like, I have a really close knit network and expanding network of like other mothers that are matriarchs in the psychedelic community, that just hold space for the ethics, hold space for space holders, hold space for infrastructure that really needs our eyes and our ears. And I just saw a fucking huge gap in research and resources for mothers wanting to eat psilocybin and heal themselves. And those women receive a lot of shame. So I just saw my sister suffering and was like, you know what, like, let's talk about it, and let me get the research together to back it, because I know this is true. My elders have taught me, and I've been in the tutelage of many elders, and like, this is normal and this is like our way of life. And for some people, they think it's like a fad, like microdosing is like the new wine mom or whatever, and it's really not. It's like, it's a way of life that people have died for already. So, families have been removed because of, indigenous worldviews and working with sacred plants. And now the same people that maybe 200 years ago removed and broke up families, are now making millions of dollars in the space.
Profiting off of
So
it,
I
yeah.
just want to like, I really want to talk shit and like, let them know that we remember and we've not forgotten, and that we're gonna take our place in this space. So yeah, it's good to be here, and it's scary, and it's necessary, but I feel really supported.
I think that community will prevail overall, because I think that the place where we're at right now is promoting a lot of individualism, and that's part of the thing that's breaking all of it up. It's letting the white man make profits off of what he's, the effects of what he's done, and pulling people apart. I feel like things like what you do, what we do, bringing people together to talk about it, to join forces, it's such an amazing thing. We thank people like you for continuing to hold that space in the communities and gather the people, because it's looking so dark out there. The way that we're starting to try to not depend on one another, when that's always been part of life.
Absolutely. Yeah, I have a lot of I don't know if are y'all Boricua?
No,
Yeah,
Cubana,
Cuban.
Cuban.
Cubano? Oh
Mhm.
shit. Okay, so yeah, my grandfather was a radio DJ in Havana for many years, and
Mm.
he's from the DR, and so we're Caribbean by blood. But I mean, the like Puerto Rico, Cuba, the DR, Haiti, like they're all Arawak and Tainos, you know. And a lot of us were brought over in the enslavement for sure, but like there's a lot of indigenous blood running all over the Caribbean. And like we have our own relationships to hallucinogenic plants. Like one of my brothers, he's Taino also. He found yopo, you know, it's like hallucinogenic snuff that's got DMT in it and an MAOI inhibitor, just like ayahuasca does. And it's like one of the only plants that has that MAOI inhibitor and DMT. So like a lot of people are reclaiming their like ancestral ways, and you know, that this isn't something to be, and recognizing how this isn't something to be commodified or made into a fad that people will just get over like they did with quinoa and fucking cacao and stuff, and monetize it and just like you know, it's really interesting, like the same like legislatures that, you know, put and instituted the three strikes rule, right, and like benefited from the drug war and like brought all of this money to just like fight black people in their own communities, are now deeply invested and are lining their pockets with psychedelic money. So I'm just like, you know, we will forever be the backbone, indigenous people will forever be the backbone of caretaking the space. And you know, I really just, I want to acknowledge how um are sharing this knowledge with our children, raising our kids in these households that normalize sacred earth medicine, ceremony, ritual, is our way of life, and how we pass down the knowledge from generation to generation. And I'm also a folk herbalist, so I come from a lineage of herbalists and like women that, you know, knew how to work with the planet. And like my mom's Italian, so like they were 2 hours from a hospital, and they just lived off the land. And from broken bones to breech births to, you know, scarlet fever, I mean, they were just healing it all with their plants and practices. And I come from a lineage tradition of like, you know, I'm in my mom's kitchen and she's showing me plants and telling me to go out and find some and cook with her, and that's how we heal. And you know, that's how I raise my son in ceremony. And what is happening now in psychedelics and even in cannabis too, but like working with these medicines is now being squeezed into a higher education model, where if you want to be a facilitator, you need to be, you know, a trained psychologist and then get your certification, and then like, you know, go get your higher education, so that maybe one day you can learn about psychedelics and learn how to hold space for people. But we come from frameworks that like when you're super young, like you're learning how to tend to fire, you're learning how to get water, like you're learning how to take care of the space. And a lot of these facilitators and people that claim that they're shamans and stuff, they don't even know how to build a fire. So I'm just like, you know, it's becoming really interesting, the like westernization, industrialization of sacred earth medicines. And then there's some of us who are really trying to maintain these like ancestral traditions, or at least, you know, help that world of westernization like understand that there's also an intrinsic value that we bring, and there's a wisdom that we bring that should be seen as just as intelligent and just as meaningful and just as worthy to be paid attention to as their way of looking at the world.
Mhm.
So I feel a very spiritual relationship with Los Niños Santos and also with cannabis, you know. And I would love to just talk, just, you know, bring to this perspective, you know, that there is this really interesting thing that we're all doing with these herbs, like classifying herbs as more important than other ones, like ayahuasca and you know, mushrooms and these ones like as these kind of like higher on the totem pole of
Yeah,
the
like
pyramid
a
of
hierarchy.
a hierarchy of plants. And I'm like, you know, even like it's like there's like ayahuasca at the top, and then there's like
Mhm.
the lowly chamomile like down here, and they're just so meaningful and important. And I've just learned so much about like, especially working with cannabis, that like cannabis plays well with other plants. And many years ago, one of my sisters was like rolling us a, you know, a J, and she was like, you should always smoke mullein with your cannabis. And like I got really initiated into like herbalism and cannabis. And it's interesting because when you go to an apothecary with herbs, there's no cannabis. And then when you go to a head shop where there's cannabis, there's no herbs. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Because they're all plantitas, like they're all plants. So it's nice merging those worlds. So I have an herbal smoke blend company, and those herbal smoke blends can be smoked with or without cannabis. And that has really nurtured and helped me build a good relationship with cannabis, was by reintegrating it with the other herbs of the world, you know? So I just wanted to name that. I love Santa Maria so much, and I really love her in the presence of other sacred plants too.
And when you talk about, you know, using cannabis spiritually, like how can one that's not in that world, how can one start to connect to the plant that way? Because I feel like, just like how you said, smoke shops don't have the herbs and the herbs don't have cannabis. Like, how would you recommend someone start using these things in a way that's going to benefit them in other ways than just, you know, smoking to get high?
Totally. Yeah, intentional consumption is very important. And like in, you know, approaching in a very sacred way, it takes time to practice, and it takes time to acknowledge the plant as this plant spirit. And sometimes we do that by singing songs, that sometimes we do that by building ritual around our consumption. Like instead of, you know, we smoke, like each smoke, the breath with each, you know, an intention. There's like sacred pipe where every smoke, every toke has like a prayer to it. And so it slows you down and it like brings you to this beautiful center. I'm thinking about my sister, who's a cannabis clergy based in Michigan. And I taught her, you know, my ceremony for working with mushroom tea, and she appropriated and brought it over to cannabis. And so she does sacred cannabis ceremonies, and you smoke, and like she brings you through a sound healing experience. And people are praying a lot with Santa Maria, and people are working with cannabis and breath work these days to produce really strong psychedelic experiences, because cannabis is just as much a psychedelic as any other plant, and any other of the earth medicines too. You can access so many of those transcendental states of consciousness by just smoking intentionally. So I would say for the newcomer, like the very early beginner, I mean, consider even the way that we talk about it as a spirit, right? Consider if there's any songs that we can learn to honor this plant, you know? Consider how like maybe if we have like an old nug that we're not going to smoke, maybe we can put it on an altar, you know, and start like bringing Santa Maria, you know, in a beautiful way into our world that's not consumptive, and instead is relational, because all of this medicine requires relationship. So we can maybe ask questions around, what is my relationship? Why am I smoking? Am I smoking to connect with God and creator and spirit, or am I smoking to like relieve stress and anxiety or like get through my day? But I think that question is like, why am I smoking? You know, who am I smoking for? Am I smoking to pray? Do I want to pray for my community? Do I want to pray for my life with this medicine? And what am I going to do after that? Like, am I going to go and eat some like fast food and like destroy my body this way? Or am I going to go to the beach or take a hike or go sit with my child or like be in a meditative state? So, I mean, it's not what we're doing, it's how we're doing it. And if we're doing it mindfully, like cannabis can carry us to very expansive states of consciousness. So I got to give it up to Santa Maria for really teaching me that she was giving me a hard time when I wasn't coming correct. And I needed to augment and adjust my relationship with her so that she could feel respected by me, you know? So yeah, I like song is a great way, like understanding its spirit in like honoring it as a spirit. So I call her Santa Maria.
That's what I was about to ask you. I
And
figured that's what you call cannabis, Santa Maria.
yeah,
You gave it a whole identity.
That's
Yeah.
a beautiful name.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like putting, I have mushrooms on my altar, so maybe putting some cannabis on your ofrenda, like, and have a little candle and like
So if
honor
you
her as a
do you
spirit.
call cannabis Santa Maria, or do you call, like, in general, all psychedelics?
No,
Like,
like
do you have a
cannabis is
different name
Maria.
for, okay, and then,
Yeah,
like, do you have a
like
separate name that,
Mary Jane. Yeah.
yeah. Do you have a name for, like, any psychedelics or psilocybin or anything like that, or is it
Yeah,
just
psilocybin, I called Los Niños Santos, the little children. That's like
oh,
one name that they're called. They're also called Tiananancat, which is a Nahuatl word. It's a Mexican indigenous language. Name for mushroom, Teonananka, it's like the sacred body of God. So yeah, also just like getting the colonizer names out of it. And I
mhm,
mean, Spanish is a colonizer name anyway, so it's like whatever feels right for you. I mean, in India, it's called Bang. So it's like there's just so many ways to approach, but I feel like they should be culturally relevant, culturally respectful. So yeah, Santa Maria has been, yeah, love of my life. I sing a song for her. I call her, yeah, mother of the soul. Like when I smoke, sometimes I'll sing, and get into that trance state. Also, my Taino brother, he was in the Rastafarian tradition, and they would smoke out of a coconut chalice, and then like they would just smoke and smoke and smoke, and then they would do chanting for hours and hours and hours, and chanting these like Rastafari like hymns and stuff, and getting into this headspace that was, our connection with the divine. So I mean, it's a
yeah.
gateway to creator, like every other psychedelic is. And unfortunately, I think this recreational space has really guided it in one direction, but it would be really nice to see it elevated into that place of spirit where it also deserves to be too.
And what you were saying about, like, the Western like, the Western medicine taking, like, psychedelics and, like,
Mhm.
it's like they made it illegal, I feel like, obviously, to take it away from indigenous people and to, like, make it, illegal for people to have access, to be able to have that connection with basically our earth and our planet, and now, even when now they're making it legal, they're doing it in this setting that's very clinical. You know what I mean? Like, they're usually like, oh, you're going to be in this controlled setting where you're going to be
Mm.
with your blindfold and listening to music. Where I've found in my experience, I'm like, yeah, that sounds great when you're probably doing a therapeutic dose and you want to do it with a doctor. But in my experience, anytime that I've done any psychedelic, I've always wanted to be outside and in
Mhm.
nature and, like, not confined in a space. So I can't imagine just sitting in a room with the blindfold, but I understand that's also the process, for some, like ayahuasca. Sometimes they sit in like a, I don't think they blindfold, but what was it? They sit in that, in the tent, and they have their coach there with them. So I just feel like they still try to, like, separate it very much, and they try to keep us separate from reconnecting with the planet. Like, people don't even know that they can grow their own food. They feel like they have to go to a store to buy a food. They don't realize that we're so far apart.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And
they've made us dependent on mass production, and they've made us
exactly, and
dependent
capitalism,
on, and recreational is kind of
another
meaning in that way
capitalism.
because everybody who's already in the game are the only ones who will benefit from the game when it opens up to other people. Well, we're in Florida here, so we're like
Mm.
we're medical right now.
Mm.
They're one of the big corporate uh cannabis companies is making it's going to be on the ballot. Like, we know for sure it's going to be on the ballot, but the way that it's on the ballot, we worry because they're not giving us access to growing it, but they're giving access to it. So it's like, you know,
Mm.
They're just
they have a
widening their
stranglehold on it.
customer base. Yeah, but they don't want to give us the, ability to grow our own. It's still keeping that control and that, like, keeping it away from us.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've been seeing, and because of my work within like the womb care space, and like birthing and kind of like folk midwifery and things like that, I've just like noticed this very interesting parallel between like folk midwifery and the shifting of the hands of power from lineage midwives and like women that, you know, helped give birth and helped women give birth, um, for the way that we were doing it for a very long time. And when Western medicine like started to kind of take over that practice and say, well, you can only really give birth in a hospital and you need to be licensed in order to help people give birth. And they ran whole smear campaigns on like traditional midwives and used a lot of like racialized propaganda, a lot of like framing it as like, look at these like witch doctors and like barbarian women that like don't know shit and they don't have white coats or degrees like us. And what was the truth of the matter was like those new doctors coming in and helping women give birth knew very little about birth actually, and lost a lot of babies and drugged a lot of women and did everything they could to just extract babies from women's bodies, but knew very little about the actual spiritual mechanics, physiological or emotional mechanics of birth, which is like the kind of state that we're all, you know, recovering from. And like in 100 years, they've kind of like figured some shit out, but like their birth outcomes are not even that great anyway. So, you know, it's really interesting that like these practices of working with medicine, whether that's, you know, the sacred earth medicines or cannabis in general, have always belonged as medicine to the people. And only just recently are they trying to get their little slimy hands into the pot and then creating this huge separation saying, oh, look at all of these primitive people working with these sacred earth medicines, but you know, we have this model and it's a therapeutic model and it's the best and most effective way of working with these medicines. And the truth is like a lot of people, you know, melanated people, people that are daughters and sons of the African diaspora, queer people, trans people, like people that are not in the normative, you know, homogenous community of whiteness, don't even feel safe in medical settings. So it's like I would die with blindfolds on, the headphones on, because I don't even trust that system. And a lot of people don't, but some people do. And so that is meant to cater to some. Some people will feel safer working with licensed therapists. And so for them, I'm glad, but don't make that be for everyone because that's not where everyone's going to heal. So if they're going to run their shit, let them, but at least let us do what we need to do to heal. So like to make it like an outlaw, because that's what they did with midwifery. Is like they made their system the only way and then outlawed everything else. So that's the problem I see with it. It's like I don't have an issue in like the development of your own system and appropriating these medicines for your own gain, but don't fuck with the way that we do it.
That's what
So
I'm worried about, that it's gonna be like, "Okay, you can only do it in these kinda settings,"
in
and
this
it's like, "No,
context,
I think we should be able to have access to it and do it in the ritual that we see fit, that we're most comfortable."
absolutely. So I 100% agree with you. And this isn't the first time and it won't be the last that they're trying to take shit away from us. Like indigenous people couldn't even practice their own religious rites until the 80s, you know? And then now like they're selling us dream catchers and shit. So it's like they're no stranger to this colonization where it's like you condemn you observe the colonizer will observe a practice, condemn it, revoke right and access, and then sell it back to us, you know? So it's really it's very formulaic. And if you know history, then you just know exactly what's going on, which is why I wish people were more interested in history, because anything from Roe v. Wade to the psychedelic renaissance to midwifery, none of this shit is surprising. So I pray for you all in Florida. I mean, we've already got our shit all, you know, the way it's looking in California. We've been legal for a while and, you know, we have medical and rec, but I mean, we can grow our own plants. And the truth is, like, I think a lot of people are sick and tired from taking notes and having to respond to what the government wants us to do. I mean, a lot of people are just kind of like, they're going to do what they want, but like a lot of us are existing in the gray areas in the underground and like just doing what we need to fucking do, because the law of our land doesn't even run on morals and ethics. It runs on the laws that they decide, which a lot of them aren't even aligned with what I call ma'at, you know, which is balance, order, reciprocity, respect, that comes from like ancient Egyptian like worldviews. And they don't run on anything ethical, righteous, like they run on Christian conservatism. So that doesn't represent the whole. So I mean, people they're gonna do what they want to do, but that's not gonna stop people from growing. That's not gonna stop people from sharing. That's not gonna stop people from journeying. And like they can try what they want and they can try to enforce it, but like at the end of the day, we've been having to operate on the fringes regardless, and we will continue to do so. And affecting our children and making our children really aware that the government is not the people that control our life. So I like I said, you know, more power to you all for what you're going to be going through, and I really really pray that people see what is really true about the world is that we're all free, we're all born free, and we're going to do what we need to do to heal regardless of what big brother wants to say about it. So keep going, sisters. I'm really glad you're creating a platform
So
around this, and
motivating. Thank
I'm
you.
sure there's a lot of more conversations to be had, but yeah, it's been really nice speaking to you today.
Thank you so much. Yes. And like I said, we would love to eventually have some sort of a retreat or some sort of spiritual.
Yes, what did
You
I
know,
miss at the beginning when I first came in? You guys were talking about retreats.
she just came back from one and she was just
Oh,
talking about how she's, creating these sort of events and stuff.
can you tell us a little bit about the events?
So yeah, I practice non-monogamy in my life, polyamory or consensual non-monogamy. And that's also an ancestral life way that I claim for myself and my family. And that means that, yeah, I'm a person that like can relate outside of the confines of like normative monogamous relationships. And so we put on a beautiful retreat with the founders of Southwest Love Fest, which is also like a non-normative like relationship, decolonizing relationships like conference. And we teamed up to put together a platonic intimacy retreat. So platonic intimacy is like non-sexual closeness,
Hmm.
resource sharing, like hugging, touching, tending to each other's emotional needs without any assumptions around relationship or romanticism. So, towing this really beautiful line of like, I'm attracted to this person, but like, I don't want to create anything more. And I want to drop into a space where there is consent, there is conversation and communication around touch and needs being met. And like, it was just a beautiful space. So, I led that and co facilitated a lot of beautiful activities. We worked with a variety of different medicines. So we worked with MDMA to help the group get closer connected to one another. I also have a documentary out.
Ooh.
I also have a documentary out called Family Trip. It's an MDMA documentary that can be found on YouTube, and I found that MDMA can be really meaningful for interpersonal relationship healing. So we open up with Sacred Fire. We had a beautiful MDMA experience together as a group, and then we did platonic touch intimacy workshops where people can practice telling people, this is how I like to be touched. This is where I want to be touched, and then literally be served by like multiple people touching them at the same time. They can say, hey, I don't like that anymore. The people that are touching are learning like, hey, is this feeling comfortable for you? Do you still like this? And then just learn how to receive that no. Learn how to be in true communication about our desires and about our limits and about what kind of touch we really want to receive. And so we had a blindfolded psilocybin infused beautiful dinner that led us into a sound bath experience, and then we had a fucking jacuzzi party afterwards. It was lit. It was a beautiful time, people feeling very connected. I don't do all women retreats. Like I hold inclusive space, and so there was just all different kinds of bodies, all different kind of gender expressions. There was trans people, there were queer folks, there was non-binary folks, there was elders there and young people and big bodied people and thin people. It was just like gorgeous for everyone to just like fall deeply in platonic love with each other and like really build kinship through intimacy. So that's very meaningful to me. I hold ceremonies and retreats 4 times a year. So this was our winter, and then I'll have one in the spring and summer and fall. And I'm also an educator, so I create virtual containers as well. So I do a lot. I do a lot of work in our space, and I really feel like education and experiences are the best places for people to learn. So, yeah, that's a little bit about the Light Heart Platonic
That
Intimacy Retreat
sounds
that we just had. It
beautiful. That sounds
was
Yeah.
dope. Yeah, it was beautiful.
Well, thanks so much for hanging out with us today. We'll let everybody know where they could find you, where they could find this information. Of course, we'll be also checking out the documentary and stuff like that. It's very interesting, and I'd love to learn more about it. So, thanks so much for taking the time today and hanging out with us. We hope to talk to you soon. We'll let you know when we're airing the show.
Yes.
Mati. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.
Okay, and that was our interview with Mikaela de la Myco. You could follow her on Mama de la Myco on Instagram or TikTok, and she also has a GoFundMe here on screen if you'd like to go and follow her there. It was very interesting conversation. We had never spoken to anyone who, we've talked to people in the past who have used cannabis throughout their pregnancy, but this was a first for us when it came to mushrooms and
Psychedelics during pregnancy.
psychedelics. So very, very interesting conversation. We thank her for coming on the show. Hey, and we also thank you, our patrons. Thanks so much for sticking around and hanging out. For those of you who were in the patron pre-sesh, and for all of you others like Yanni,
Destiny,
Lauren,
Christy,
Denise,
Peaches,
Meredith,
Natalie,
Angelina,
Jenny,
Catherine,
Jay,
Jesse,
Diane,
Gabby,
and Leslie. Thank you guys.
We love you. Thanks so much. We can't wait to travel with you soon as well.
You can become a patron. Go to our website, check it out. It's how to become a patron. Enjoy the extra access to our Discord server where we have sessions, we plan our trips, and you get some extra content.
Yeah, thanks so much for hanging out and listening to the show. We don't have a secret word of the show this time.
No, we didn't.
But hey, subscribe, rate, review, and share our content. PopSmokingMoms.com.
Bye. Oh wait, this is